The Sound of Silence, you talk a lot about open awareness. Awareness as not a concept and not something that's created. I had a class where we've done some exploration of awareness, sort of touching on it, but what I find is that the elusiveness of it. Like meditation is something I can do as a daily practice, and it's helpful, but I'm not quite sure that awareness as a practice or how to be more in touch or with awareness as a refuge.
Well, it's really beyond definition, you know. But like oftentimes meditation techniques we like because you're told what to do, and techniques of developing awareness. Awareness is natural. It's not. I mean, if you were never aware, you'd be dead by now. I mean, you have to, like crossing the street, you have to have some kind of awareness of what traffic is like. And then driving a car, you have to be really mindful because you're driving something that, can harm others or yourself. So, and then it's a survival. If we were never aware, we would die very young. But it's merely the ability to, we're tending to be aware of things, though, rather than this open sense. And so, like I found, like when you do some kind of formal meditation, you're sitting, you do that sitting practice, and then just be aware when you first sit down of, say, just reflect on your body is like this, so you're just not to figure out whether your sitting posture is good or bad, but it's just trusting yourself just to recognize your body sitting is like this, and you're kind of accepting the body sitting. You're not caught in some kind of ideal posture of how you should sit or whatever, but it's like this, and just kind of reflect on the body for a while, and then there's the breath, anapanasati, and then there's the mood you're in. What state of mind are you in? Is your mind busy? Are you thinking a lot? Are you happy or anguished or despairing or worried or whatever? Just being aware of the mood, the state of mind. And this awareness is not a critical function, so it's not saying how it should be, but you're just willing to accept the reality of this moment, from the physical body to the breath to the state of mind you're in. So sometimes, many of us started out with meditation techniques that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't work, because the technique is there in your brain, but you're maybe not aware of what you're actually feeling in the moment. So I've got to practice meditation, but you're all wired up. You've been busy at some meeting and the arguments that arose, and you're stirred up emotionally, and then you're trying to do anapanasati, and you can't do it. So the important thing is to be aware of, right now, the mental quality, the mood is like this. If it's all, obsessive thinking and emotion and that, you can't do anapanasati. It's pointless. But you can accept the feeling, just sit there and let it be what it is. And it'll settle down. Naturally, because the nature of conditions are, when they come, then they go. So then you're using wisdom to just observe, so you're not going to be the same every moment, every time you meditate, because life is going to present you with different situations. Some make you feel good, some make you feel angry. But the knower of that, the knower is this sati sampajanya. And then I encourage you to trust it more. And even though, don't grasp the idea you've got to have sati and be aware and all that, because then it becomes something you have to do, something that you have to achieve as a person. Just trust your intuitive awareness more. Just if you're, anxious, excited, or whatever mood you're in is like this, just accepting it and bearing with it, let it be what it is. Then it'll go. These things come and go. Of course, that's the Buddha's teaching. All conditions are impermanent. So sometimes I found, like I loved the sitting practice very much, and so I really liked sitting in meditation. But then I was always trying to fight against it. If I had negative states or wandering mind or caught in doubt or whatever, I'd always try to suppress them, get rid of them, so I could get this samadhi, this tranquility that I liked. And then I found out that doesn't work. It's suppressing, because it tends to, if you're fighting anger, like you feel angry, and you're trying to get rid of it, you make it worse. You're just stirring it up even more. And where if you just know anger is like this, right now the state of my emotion, the emotion is you call anger is like this, and then just let it be what it is, and it'll go away. That's its nature. You see, the Buddha wasn't analyzing anything. He wasn't, it's not like analyzing or judging anything. It was an interest in the arising and ceasing of conditions. That's it, in phenomena. So this is all you have to do. You don't have to solve all your emotional problems or try to figure out why you get angry or why you feel frightened or things like this. All you this way is just knowing fear when you feel that emotion is like this, and then you're willing to let it be that way. You're not doing anything about it. You're just observing. Then be patient, because the emotions, they linger, and so you're willing to let it be what it is, and then you'll be more aware of its changing and cessation. And that's where wisdom comes from. But you have to, you don't have to, but I suggest that trust yourself more to observe. That observing thing is Buddha, is Buddho. And then you're seeing the arising and ceasing of phenomena. You're observing the way things are rather than thinking about how things should be, which we tend to do. We're just observing the way things are, and then this statement, all conditions are impermanent. So this relation, you see, the Buddha and the way he taught was making it very, very simple. Is because we're all, most of us are educated and have degrees from universities and things like this. So we have a lot going on in the mind of comparing and judging and having opinions and views that we get from others and from books, from sages or whatever, from religious people or parents, whatever. So we're full of that. We're highly complicated individuals, and then we suffer because the complications kind of cover the natural phenomena we're living in. We can be living in a forest like this and be in New York City in the and New York City, what is New York City right now for all of us? It's a perception. And you're thinking, oh, New York City's in North America. But that's not what we're interested in. We're interested in now. And so just the perception of New York, it arises and ceases. Then you're developing wisdom rather than going, carrying on about you like or love or hate New York City, or you want to go there or you don't. Right now, don't go there, it's freezing. Like the human being is to have, because of this retentive memory, it can be a curse because we can become totally depressed and suicidal because of our thinking and remembering and things like this. So but it's so highly, we're conditioned to attach to thinking as reality. So we create the worlds we live in, our own personal, built out of our own personal memories and experience in life. And we all think we're living in the same world, but actually, we live in our own worlds on that conditioned level. And that's why, being the head of monasteries and things like that, where you're teaching this, but because things that I find very simple to understand, other monks don't. And then I start thinking they should. It goes on like that. It doesn't make any sense. Each monk lives in their own world, even we're living in the same monastery. It's what we think, what we remember, which is going to be different for each one of us. So knowing that, then we're seeing that all conditions are impermanent. So then we're finding a unicity in consciousness, a oneness that's always present, but seldom noticed, because we're too bound up in identifying with the bodies we have, with the memories, thoughts, opinions, views that we have, and so we don't really, we don't recall, we don't reflect on what is, like the thinking mind is divisive, it's dualistic, it's always got this right, wrong, good, bad, true, false. And so it's as long as you're caught in the thinking process, you're always going to feel separated from reality, because you see yourself as a physical body, as a personality that's going to be different from somebody else's. And then here, very international, so you've got different nationalities with and there's certain similarities that certain nationalities have that are different from others, and so we oftentimes misunderstand each other and conflict with our own views and opinions. But if the mindfulness practice then puts you into that unicity, that universality of consciousness, and then sometimes reflect on consciousness has no bound. Everything's in consciousness. The trees, the earth, the sun and moon and stars has no boundary. Where does it end? And if you start, I'm not giving this as a dogma, but just a way of reflecting, because Western people tend to think consciousness is in the head, so it's in my brain or something like this. So, but in Buddhism, consciousness is immeasurable, universal. So that holds us all. That's what we're all one with. That's oneness. And then the separateness comes in the forms. We all have different forms, different feelings and languages and whatnot that separate. So the way out of suffering is to get back into the reality of consciousness before it takes on any form. They call that the empty mind, or universal consciousness, or whatever, different names. But this is just to experiment with your own perceptions, of life and of yourself. And then you reflect on just the body with awareness, not with criticism, not saying it's good or bad or whatever. It's like this. That which is aware of the body, but is not criticizing, not involved with owning it or judging it, just accepting it as it is in this moment. Then that's actually a moment where you've tuned into universal consciousness, because you let go of the discriminating identities and habits of separating, and you kind of so it's like Luang Por Chah used to always call meditation a holiday of the heart. And I remember when he first, because he said it in Thai, and when he said that to me, it's Pakpon Tang Chit Jai, and then I translated it, holiday of the heart. Meditation is a holiday, it's hard work. Holiday is where you kind of relax and enjoy. and that was I was making meditation hard work, because that's my tendency as a personality, gotta get it, gotta give up and get something I don't have and get rid of these negative emotions and purify the mind and kill the kilesas. And, this is a typical American, warrior mindset, kill off everything that you don't want. And that's hard work. So then the holiday of the heart is stop trying so hard, just open, relax, essentially an attitude of attentiveness but relaxed, not forced, not driving, not willful. And this is where you need to trust yourself to recognize that, because you all understand the words, but it takes a while to really appreciate that. Because, like, if you're in the competitive mindset where you want to conquer and get rid of things and be the best, then you think, well, I'm not doing anything, I should be striving, working hard. And in Thailand, some of the teachers use these kind of strong words like kill the kilesas, kill the impurities. But I found that for me, killing impurities doesn't work. Because it's a cultural thing too. Because I'm from a culture that always, and from a Christian background where the idea of killing the devil and getting rid of the evil forces is so culturally conditioned and praised. Striving, winning, getting somewhere, proving yourself are powerful, are the cultural attitudes that you're brought up with. And then just not doing anything, just sitting there receiving it sounds like waste of time. but actually, it is a kind of holiday, because suddenly you begin to see you don't have to strive and get and control and from the conditioning mind, and then you're starting to wake up to Dhamma. So meditation isn't, this kind of trying, forceful willfulness, but more observing, witnessing, not through judgment. As soon as you judge anything, then it becomes more than what it is. So they use this, the way it is, it's like this. And, Luang Por Chah, they taught this kind of the way it is. In Thai, Ben Yang Ni Ang is like, that's the way it is. At this moment, right now, at this moment, this is the way it is. It's not saying whether it's good or bad, or how it should be, but suddenly you're just opening and accepting this moment, whatever way it is, as you experience it in your consciousness. And so it helps a lot in dealing with social problems too, and we're confronted with so many political views and opinions and ideals in life, and then we can strive to make things change to what we think they should be. So after a lifetime of that, you can become quite cynical, because as much as we want to change things for the better, it's still coming out of this idealism and ignorance rather than from wisdom. And so this kind of intuitive wisdom then isn't just a passive indifference to change. It's a notice, a recognition of the way of phenomena changing, and then our relation to phenomena is one of understanding, and then we know if there's something to make things better, we're more attuned how to do that, rather than just always complaining because things are never the way they should be.
Grandfather, it's so easy to let the mindfulness slip away. Do you have any good techniques for any sort of actually maintaining or reminding yourself and be mindful?
Well, I mean, it's, considering you're living in you're totally surrounded and impinged on constantly by conditions which you have no control over, like the weather or the, and your health and people you're with and so forth. But this is a way of training, and then the thinking mind wanders, so you get the idea of being mindful, but it's still a thought process, and then it can wander very easily, because that's the nature of the thinking mind. It goes from one thought to another, and then but the awareness of the thinking mind, you aren't the thoughts. That's why I say don't believe what your mind tells you. You're not thought. You're not a thought. But there's awareness of thinking. So every time you are mindful, and then you wander away, there'll always be a point where you suddenly you are mindful. You realize you've been wandering away. Like right now, say you're sitting there, aware of the breath, the body, and then suddenly you're thinking about New York City, minus 15, and then you're off to London, and you're in Rome, and then and suddenly, you catch yourself. Then I recommend just going back at that moment when you realize you're just wandering away. Train yourself just to go back to like the breath or the body, something that's here and now. That the reality of now. So the breath is a good one because you're always breathing. Or the body is, if you're sitting, standing, walking, lying down, the body's always here. And now the breath, and we're the posture of the body, more interested in the posture than the appearance. So I mean, you contemplate the four postures of sitting, standing, walking, lying down, because that doesn't create a personal, that doesn't arouse vanity or a sense of personal worth. Posture is just posture. It's not about sitting posture in full lotus for 24 hours. It's about sitting like this, whether you're sitting in a chair or on the floor, it doesn't make much difference. Just use it. Use your body as a reference point because it's now, here and now, the breath. And then maybe start using a mantra like Puto as a way of thinking. Like Luang Por Chah advised me when I first met him, because he realized I was obsessed with my own thoughts. And so he advised me, he said, if you just think Puto, don't think anything else. If your nature's the thing. I couldn't do Anapanasati even, because the mind would just wander all over the place. I couldn't stay with a sensation because I was so conditioned to think. And so he's using thought then, but limiting to one word, Puto, which means the Buddha. And then that makes sense, At least I'll be thinking, and then you kind of observe that. You're not just randomly Puto like it just and wander, because you can do that too. You can Puto and then be off somewhere else, but you're making it very conscious. So I would Puto. First I had to use it quite fast, I couldn't just say Puto and the mind would wander, so I connect them very quickly, like Puto, and then after a while the tendency to wander stopped, and more that you have space. This is how I dealt with thinking. And then like I said before, even if you wander away, and that moment where you realize that, just go back to Puto or the breath or the body, here and now. And then don't, like I used to, set goals for myself and for being mindful, and then and I'm off somewhere else, I suddenly realize, oh God, I've lost it again, and then I wallow in being critical of myself, and not getting what I wanted. And then I determined, just stop that. Stop it. It's not worth anything. It doesn't help. It's more diluting than the other. So it's just this is where, trust yourself is when you find yourself wandering in that moment, you realize, just go like this, back to Puto or the body or the breath. It's a way of training, because all of us are conditioned in a different way to always plan for the future or remember the past. So we're always, we can be sitting and then planning our future in a certain way, or thinking, being guilty or about things we've done in the past or whatever. And so the past and the future, we're always living in the present moment for the future. And the future is all perception in the present. There's only the present moment. But we can ignore the present moment by planning always for the future, thinking, I'm meditating now so I can become enlightened in the future. Don't believe that. Because there's no future. So it really matters of being enlightened right now, and that's being aware. And also, like, I lived in England for 34 years, so I taught a lot of retreats and things like that in there, and I noticed, how people tend to the British character tends to be quite self-critical, and so they tend, different from Americans, which tend to use a lot of superlative words. The English use words that understated. So, where Americans say, wow, that's fantastic, they say, well, it's quite good, yes. The cultural difference. But the teaching there, like we always start from the idea that I'm an ignorant person, I need to practice meditation in order to become enlightened. And that's how I started. I thought myself as ignorant, confused person that needed to do something in order to become something else. And then I did, when I encountered Buddhism, I really, I had a certain intuitive sense for it right from the beginning. Something in me responded to Buddhism that I've never responded to any other religion or philosophy. And so that was when I was 21 years old. And so then, you find out that just like what I've been talking about, you create yourself. I'm an unenlightened person, I'm confused, neurotic mess, I need to do something in order to become something else. Enlightened person is what I create. I create that. Nobody's saying that. It's just what I think, what I believe is my self-view. And so then, just by noticing what you create in your mind, what you think you are, and what you in terms of positive, negative values, or your abilities or lack of abilities or talents or virtues and vices, all that. You create yourself into a person. And so it's not about becoming a better person anymore, it's about seeing through the limitations of personality and the worlds that we believe in and create. And so that's why this mindfulness it's called the path to the deathless, and it's the only escape hatch we have, as human beings, human individuals, because we have the ability to refine conditions. The best we can do as personalities, individuals, is refine the conditions, make them better, more beautiful, whatnot. But they still arise and cease, whether they're refined or coarse. And so even trying to refine the conditions is suffering, because if you get attuned to very high quality things and refined thoughts and refine everything, then the ordinary world can be very offensive to you. You have to live in a kind of utopian illusion. And as you step out the door, you're attacked by the coarseness of reality, of the conditions that aren't refined. And this is what being human is. You're born, you grow up, get old, and die. And why the Buddha emphasized meditation on death and on corpses and on old age. These are like Prince Siddhartha when he left the palace. He had these what they call Devadutas. He saw an old man, bent over with age with a cane, and he'd never encountered that in the palace. They tried. The king, his father, was always trying to not have him see anything that might turn him towards any spiritual path. He wanted him to be a universal monarch, a great emperor, not a Buddha. This is the legend of the Buddha. So he sneaks out the gate one day and looks and sees an old man for the first time. What's that? Old age. And then sees a man lying with a fever, sick and in misery, and that sickness. And then he sees a corpse, human corpse, death. And then he sees a samana, or a monk, and that. So these are the teachers that are teaching us. Like the monk is an archetype for spiritual reality. There's old age, sickness, death, and then the way out of this realm of birth and death. So like the samana or the monk is a kind of archetypal form for the way to transcend the conditioned world, not be just caught in the vortex, the whirlpool of changing conditions. But take in your mind always just to come back to the present. Just you see yourself wandering and stop the criticizing yourself for wandering. I made a determination. I'm not going to do that because it has no. It tends to keep you in a state of feeling you're failing all the time, and you can't do it. It feeds that kind of perception of yourself. So stop it, and then just determine to come back into the present moment with Bhutto, or the breath, or the body, and then this attentiveness. It was to bring this attention to the present moment, not to. The whole sole purpose is to be here and now, rather than someone trying to practice now to get something in the future. Does that help you? And you can do this like a formal way, or even try it when you're just traveling or anywhere. You know? Like the past years I've traveled a lot, internationally. So always going into airports, waiting in lines, and then you get to your destination and you have to wait for your baggage. And I found like waiting in lines, my personality is one is it's not coming. Where's my suitcase? And you get all this kind of tenseness thing, and maybe they lost it. The airlines lose things, or waiting, to get through immigration and this kind of slow process, and you feel this. Why are they so slow? I used to go in airports, look for what looks like the shortest line and what's moving. And so I started seeing the suffering of this, so I started thinking I'll just go into this empty state, choose a line and observe this impulse to want to get through the line, or get the bag on the carousel and things like this, this impatience. So you can integrate it, into just ordinary things like that, waiting in a traffic jam in Bangkok or whatever. I mean, it helps to integrate mindfulness into ordinary life. Not just sitting in a quiet place, but in the middle of a traffic jam or a battlefield. Whatever. Also, it works like when you're in a situation where there's a lot of acrimony or quarrels going on, to bring yourself into the present. Keep cultivating that. And after a while, it starts connecting, moments of mindfulness, rather than just flashes and then you've lost it. It starts, seeing it's a continuum, it's not just a momentary flash and it's gone. Because it's the background that everything manifests on. So it's like a movie screen. Like you have all these projections onto the movie screen. The movie screen's always white and there, but the movie can be all different kind of actions and colors and different people and war and peace and whatnot, but the background's always there, the screen, and so like learning to be that screen in which the conditions arise and cease. And so consciousness is learning to recognize consciousness like this, and then. And I've developed this over years, so it's like very easy to do now. But at first, it was because of my conditioning was, always losing it and wandering away, and then feeling, I can't do it. I'm just too, you start creating yourself with like you can't do it. You're not prepared, or you don't have enough mindfulness, or whatever way you tend to go. But then it's just this humble kind of, you're thinking about something, and back into the present, the mindfulness in the present. And like a book, Sound of Silence, I began to notice this resonating background to everything. like a vibration that has as a continuum, and as I began to recognize that more, I could establish myself with that, and then I could see it's a continuum that I don't create, not a personal creation, but it's here and now. And then and it helps you to establish mindfulness so it continues rather than just momentary flashes of mindfulness and then you're lost again.